Hi everyone, welcome to WW Designs. My name is Nikki and today we are going to do another page in our Altered Magazine Creative Journal. I have a playlist of same name where you can see how I made this journal and of course videos on the pages we have already done, like this gorgeous one. That's an absolute favourite. I love how that turned out. And we're going to use very simple things and just have a gentle start into the new year. If you have joined my Facebook group, you will already know what our things we will require for today. So I put a post up a day or two before the video goes out so that you can craft with me if you want to, or at least you know what sort of things we will be using. And today we're going to do a very simple watercolor collage papers, and then we're going to cover a page with them and we're going to add a positive quote. So the whole idea of this is as you fill it and as you flip through it, there'll be something you love about the page you've created. That's the whole idea. We're just doing simple things but ending up with a great result. So I'm going to grab my watercolors and we are going to make a start. So the first thing you will need is magazine paper, or, pages, book pages. I even use some lined paper from an El Cheapo notepad. It doesn't matter. Use what you have. And you will need some watercolors. I've just got my super cheapies here. Honestly, these things, I think in Australia, this set costs about $10, $15. I'm not sure. I've had this forever. I've already got my next set ready to go because some of these are almost unusable, but you don't need fancy supplies. Any sort of watercolor will do. If you don't have watercolors, you can use acrylic paint. Just water it down quite a bit so that you get some color, but it's not too bright. But you could also do this with acrylics if you want. And then you can either work on a whole page, like in this case, this would be a good page to start with, or you can just use little scraps. So, for example, I've gone through a magazine, I've cut out or torn out an image that I want, and then you've got the rest of the page that has some words or even some blank, and you can just use little scraps. That's actually what I did because I have plenty of magazines that have already been harassed and cut apart, but I still hang on to them and then use what's left for projects like this. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to just do some color blocks. And I'm going to put those down on the base when I start gluing. And I literally just mean like this. Okay, so we're just doing a block of color. You can add as little or as much paint as you want, and then you just let that dry. The other thing I love doing when I'm doing things like this, we'll just change colors a bit. I love doing color squares. Now, I'm not really good at painting squares, but I find if you just drag your brush along, then you can always dab in more paint if you want it a bit bolder. Then say, for example, we want another blue. And then you just use different tones of the same color, or you can completely mix it up. And then just dot a bit of extra color in if you feel you don't have enough coverage. And that's a great way to make color swatches. So I've just used this flat brush for that. Great for, if you want larger coverage. And then you want to grab something a bit smaller. This is just, what size is this? Does it tell me? It's an 8 round brush. And then we're just going to make some marks. We're keeping it simple. We're not trying to paint the Mona Lisa here. For example, you might want to do some circles. And too bad if they're not perfectly round. Another fun way to make marks is just to simply dab your brush down like that. You can also just do some swirls. all we're trying to do is make some little pieces, and all of them, we want a good variety of colours. And with this sort of brush, if you dab lightly on the point, you can end up with lots of tiny little circles. You can also make some X's, and you'll end up with all sorts of sizes. When I paint myself, I actually turn everything to the side and do it that way, but I won't do that for camera's sake. And with a bit of practice and just getting used to your brush, you can see your little crosses will end up better and better. And of course you can paint straight lines, as thick or as thin as you like, and just have fun. We don't need perfect. We just want some colour down on the paper. And even when the paper looks like it's a bit crinkly here, you'll find once it's dry, it'll be pretty flat. And if not, sit them under a heavy book for a few hours and they will end up very flat. So what I'll do, let me just put this aside for a minute. I'll show you the ones I've already made. So hang on, let me just grab them. So I did some colour blocks, a pink one, a teal one, and then I even did some thicker stripes in slightly different shades. There's my little crosses. Here's my little colour swatches. These are just little marky line things. I've got a solid yellow one, and that's just on El Cheapo super thin note paper, works beautifully. I did yellow and orange stripes, some swirls, some thicker lines, my not very circly circles, my little paintbrush dabs, little dots in a variety of colour, and I just did some swirls. This is a fun way to practice using your paintbrushes, learning about pressure, how much to apply, how much not to apply. These are not what I would call good quality brushes. This one's just a Crayola. This one's a Montmartre. You don't need to have fancy brushes, but just practice playing. You can fill sheets and sheets of this in no time. It's fun to do, and it's really fun to use in crafty projects. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to grab the journal. I'm going to start gluing. But I might speed it up a little bit, and I'm going to put some music on. So grab yourself a cuppa, and we're going to get gluing and get some of these down on our page. have left this to dry for about an hour, just so that all the gluey bits are gone. Now, just a little tip, be careful of glue on your fingers, or if you're using a glue sheet to apply glue, that you use a clean spot each time. I did notice a couple of times I had a bit of glue in the wrong spot, and it will actually make watercolours run and smudge. So just keep that in mind when you are gluing down. So let's remove our backing sheet, and then what I do have to do, I'm going to flip this around. I need to tear this off a bit so that it sort of matches the sheet behind it. It doesn't matter if there's a bit showing, it's just extra texture and pattern. I've got no drama with that. Actually, let's do this way. Okay, and a little bit here. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so of course we have rough edges everywhere and things. That's the whole idea of this. It's not perfection, it's just having fun. So we need a quote. Now, you've got lots of choices with this, and I sort of and ahed about this a lot. I was going to handwrite it on, and then I was worried that the handwriting would get lost because these colours have dried quite dark. I thought they would end up a little lighter, but it is what it is, and that's fine. So here's my little quote that I want to use. Keep shining through. You may be a lighthouse to someone trying to make it. And when I was flipping through magazines and scrolling my phone looking for a quote, this one sort of jumped out at me because, let's be honest, this is what my channel is all about, is hopefully providing inspiration and relatively easy projects so that people that have never tried something like what I might be showing you actually are game enough to give it a go. So I thought, you know what, this is the quote I'm going to use because that's what this journal's about, and many other things that I share on my channel. I try and make things easy for people. So what we're going to do is just add some glue to this, and we're going to stick it down. Now, you may not have a quote out of a magazine. You may have one sitting on your phone that you could print out, or you could type it out in Word and then print it. You can handwrite it, paint it, do whatever you like. So we're going to pop this right in the middle. Now, of course, I feel this does get a bit lost in there. So I decided to grab, this is one of my Sharpie creative paint markers, and I'm just going to run this around the edge. I just want this to stand out a bit because was sort of the idea of this page, was to have a positive quote to reflect on when you go through your journal. So that instantly makes it stand out a lot better. And we might even grab a finer marker and just add another little border. Just to really make it stand out. Again, no rulers, nothing like that. We're just having a go. Let's double it up a little bit. So if you do make a mistake and you're not happy with it, if you sort of double up a bit and go over areas and make it a little uneven, then it looks as though that's exactly how you intended it to be. Now, that I think is much better. Then the next thing we're going to do, while we have our marker in our hand, we're going to grab some little scraps, and all we're going to do is hand draw some flowers. We're not putting paint in these. We want these to be a little bit of contrast and a little bit of interest. And quotes and affirmations are all about growth, so I thought flowers would be a good symbol. Doesn't matter if your petals are all different sizes. This is just about having fun. So there we go. Very simple. And then we cut this out. I always like to leave a little bit of a border rather than cut right up to the edge, but feel free to do so if you want. If you have some nice flower stickers, maybe you could put some of those down instead. Or pretty little flowers that you may have cut out of a magazine, another option. Or use something entirely different. Again, we don't have rules, we just make a pretty mess. Not even bothering getting my fussy cutting scissors out. This will do the job perfectly. There we go. And of course, I have already made a few more. And you will notice that I've used different fonts under most of them, except for the 2 book page ones. So now we just need to glue those down. So grab the glue stick. I've just done, as you've seen, all of this with a glue stick. Because we're using thinner paper, we don't need to risk getting any more lumps and bumps than what we have. So glue stick is the go. Nice and easy. And then we are just going to dot them around. And you will also have noticed that I've put some of the typography upside down, some sideways. Doesn't all have to be upright unless you just can't help yourself and you want it upright. But I actually find it quite fun if it's not done like that. And of course you can make as many of these as you like. I literally used up my leftover scraps. I had made just enough painted pieces to do the task at hand. I had just a couple of little scraps left. So I made flowers with what I had. What have we got? 1, 2 left. And where do we need the lucky last one? Somewhere down below. Okay. I think just in there will do the job nicely. Now, Nikki being Nikki likes shiny things, okay? You will have noticed that, no doubt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some gold leaf and I'm going to put some in the centre of all the flowers. So I've got this little tub here where my gold leaf is all contained, and I'm going to need a pair of tweezers. And what I'm going to do is just simply apply some glue in the centre of each flower. I'm going to grab a tiny bit of gold leaf, one that is big enough obviously to cover. This is the fiddliest and diddliest stuff around, I tell you, but it's cute. And then I'm just popping that down over my glue, gently pressing, and then not touching it again until you've given it a little bit of time to dry. And then all you do is grab a nice soft brush and get rid of the excess. You only need the tiniest little bit. This is not expensive, fancy one. I got this from a cheap shop somewhere. And for these sort of projects, you don't need to buy really good quality gold leaf. This does the job. Or you might have silver leaf or rose gold leaf, which I know I have somewhere, but I don't know where it is. And I couldn't be bothered to hunt for it. So we are gold leafing today. And then when you do dust off your excess, put it straight back in your jar. You don't need to waste it. Because sometimes if you're doing like a line of gold leaf, you can just cover it with all the little scraps. And as long as you just leave the glue to dry, it works a charm. Oh, oh no, I think this last one's going to be the biggest, so we'll need a bigger bit for that. There we go, perfect. So just let it dry. One has to be patient. I'll give it a few minutes and we'll dust it off. If you don't have gold leaf, you can always use some gold paint or a glitter gel marker, anything. This is never a go out and buy, and you must use what I say, use what you have. If you don't want gold, you don't have to even add gold. So we're just going to dust away excess. Actually, that's broken up very fine. I don't think I'll bother saving all that bit. Actually, maybe I need slightly firmer brush. Hang on a minute. I've done this before and I've always used a very soft one. But maybe we actually need something a little firmer. Let's see. Yeah, that actually, okay, so this is still soft, but it's firmer than what I had. And it's breaking away in such tiny pieces. Probably won't even bother to try saving that unless I end up with something worthwhile. And you just give it a nice little brush and get the excess to break away. And if it doesn't want to, leave it there as a bigger blob. See, it depends on how much glue you use and how much pressure you apply. See, that little bit can go back in there. So what I'll do is just now give this a general dust off. Hold on. I'm going to use this brush here just to get rid of the excess. Yeah, I don't think those little bits are worth saving. So now I'm going to have sparkly gold around the place, but that's fine. So we have our completed page. Let me just bump you back out here. We are all done. Very simple. We have a little bit of shininess going on. I love that. So there you go. A very, very simple project. If you haven't joined the Facebook group, please do. It is a private group, so not only do you get advance notice to prompts, it's also a safe place to share your work. I know some people love being creative, but they don't want all their family and friends to know how they spend their spare time. So it is a great place to share it. And of course, if you decide you want to share on Instagram instead, you can use the hashtag WWDMMJJ. It's a unique hashtag that I managed to find, and I do go and check it every now and then and check out people's work. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, you know what to do. Leave it in the comments box below. And if you could give this video a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.